Welcome back to this week's episode of the CryptoNoobz Podcast, where we talk about cryptocurrency and the world around it. I'm your host, Nelson Ricardo.x, and I'm joined with my co-host,
Mont Astwood, aka Crypto Lambo.
And on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about crypto recruiting and what it takes to actually get crypto jobs in this day and time. We would like to introduce our guest for today, Mr. Owen Healy, crypto recruiter. Mont, could you give us a little bit more information about Mr. Owen?
All right. Owen is a crypto recruiter. He helps recruit people for blockchain and crypto jobs, and he also advises people on how to get blockchain and crypto jobs. And that's where I actually met him. That was like in about 2021 or 2022. We had a conversation. But I will let Owen explain more about himself. Say who you are and how did you get on this journey? Can you explain the journey to us?
Yeah, sure. The TLDR is that it was a COVID accident, really. I had been interested in crypto for some time before joining the industry, and living in a remote part of Ireland, and was unemployed during the COVID pandemic and found myself working in blockchain recruitment. Again, just going on LinkedIn, and one thing led to another, reaching out to people that worked in the crypto industry, got my opportunity from there. And now thankfully I'm doing it now almost 5 years. So again, when I tell people to lean in on their network and reach out to as many people as possible, that's how I got to where I am today, by reaching out to different people and learning from different people, and ultimately asking for favors in many respects.
That's incredible, man. So 5 years ago, you didn't have a job and you just reached out and actually started to build your network. And that network actually brought you to where you are here today. And I think there's a lesson inside that for a lot of our audience to actually reach out to their networks. You don't have to do this alone. Actually reach out and start having those conversations with people. So one of the first things we want to know, Owen, and I'm pretty sure this is a big thing on a lot of people's minds, right? As a recruiter, especially a crypto recruiter, what skills are most in demand right now in the crypto job market? I think people would love to hear this.
That's a very interesting question. And I guess the skills that are in demand right now weren't necessarily the skills that were in demand maybe 2 years ago or 18 months ago. So, for example, a lot of demand for quants at the moment, a lot of demand for institutional BD folks, a lot of demand for as well traders, legal professionals, and I guess there's always a good demand for developers, it's a pretty good market. I would say the bar is a lot higher now, just given that the fact that the amount of people entering the industry, there's more people entering the industry, and the industry is also consolidating quite a bit. And DeFi has been a challenging vertical at the minute, but other areas then are doing extremely well. Like the intersection of blockchain and AI is huge at the moment, as is the real world asset space. And a lot of service providers are building up their teams as well. So I think maybe market makers, think trading firms, legal offices, marketing agencies, they're all building up their team. So it's it's a pretty good market. And I guess the good thing about this industry now that it's maturing is that there's more opportunities for more types of professionals. So if you weren't a BD person or a marketing person or a developer, if you weren't within those three disciplines, it would have been very difficult to get into the industry. Thankfully now there's more product jobs in the marketplace, more jobs in areas like developer relations as well. And it's a good market, but just the bar is higher and more people are looking to get into the space, and the standards are higher among employers. And that's been very noticeable in the last even 6 months.
What are some of the mistakes someone who might enter the realm in a non-technical role? What are some of the mistakes they might make when they're trying to apply for jobs? We see traditional institutions embracing crypto and blockchain at this time, especially with increased regulation and clearer regulation. So the people, like the employees who work in the traditional field, what advice would you give them, or what mistakes you see a lot of them make when they try to go over the DeFi?
Yeah, so I guess we're at that intersection, I suppose, where TradFi meets DeFi, and a lot of DeFi companies now are appreciating the more institutional background, I would say. I guess take it from a BD perspective, the typical DeFi BD role maybe 18 months ago would have been, who do you know what exchanges or different protocols that can help us? Now it's more a case that who do you know in the institutional world, if anything. So I guess what a lot of people, the mistake that some people make is that they just, like anything, I guess, they just don't they haven't the skills, they haven't demonstrated proof of interest within the industry, and ultimately they they fall short. I guess I'd often take maybe 2 or 3 calls with crypto curious people every week and offer them tips and tricks as to how to get involved in the industry. And I often ask this one question to a lot of such people, is that, name 2 projects that impressed you over the last 12 months in the crypto space. And I'm looking for answers like Hyperliquid, for example. But if somebody says maybe Ethereum or Solana, the high tier ones, really, I want to learn from them, I suppose. So that's kind of a question that I would often ask. So yeah, just come show your show, show your inner DJ, I suppose. To some degree, I would say, yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So another thing that I would want to understand is, right, crypto is a really technical space with devs and traders and all that good stuff. And I do think a lot of people want to get into the crypto industry, but they simply don't really, how can I say this? They don't want to be technical, What roles do non-technical applicants, often overlook in the crypto industry? And how would you recommend that they break into the industry? Like someone who might not know as much about crypto, but they want a role and they want a non-technical role. They want to enter the industry. Like, what roles and how can they enter?
Yeah, so I guess it comes back to I suppose, the very cringeworthy saying that your network is your net worth, and with that as well, demonstrate proof of interest. So how do you demonstrate the proof of interest? I guess is by effectively doing something as simple as doing courses online, for example, and participating in communities, participating in Discords. Yeah, even something, if you're a designer, for example, reach out to founders, maybe ask them that, they might require a designer full time, for example, but say that I want to help out pro bono, maybe an hour or 2 a week, and get some crypto related experience on your portfolio to demonstrate the proof to employers in the industry that you're interested in the space, and that you that is very much an industry that you want to pursue going forward. And ultimately, it's a very tight knit industry as well. It's globally distributed, remote first for the most part. Word of mouth counts for a lot, and a good referral cannot be understated within this industry. So if you have people that are founders that are well known within a certain ecosystem, for example, and they are advocating for you, that'll be a huge help for you going forward. If there's another project in that same ecosystem, for example, hiring a designer, for example. So again, I would say that for non-technical people, yeah, just understand that your network is your net worth. Continue to build your skills and understand that, again, another cringeworthy line for you, but your best recruiter is you. So ABC, always be connecting. And yeah, and again, can't understate the value of a strong referral within this industry.
Very wise words.
Yeah, and trust me, when you see me right now, I was writing down ABC just now. That's I'm gonna post that on my stats later today, so I can be profound and deep. Yeah, so that's what I was writing now. But you've been answering a lot of our questions, and you've been giving a lot of great insight. Now, as far as like the education, because I did hear you mention courses, right? I have a degree. My degree is in finance, so I was moving more so into the traditional field, right? How would you gauge, like, how do crypto companies gauge traditional degrees? Because when I was at Crypto Bahamas, that was like in 2020, I had a discussion with a lot of founders, a lot of people who work in the space. And I noticed we never talked about college. Like, it wasn't like, okay, this person been to Harvard, Princeton, Yale, none of that. It was never none of those conversations. So I want to know, like, how much do you think that crypto companies actually weigh traditional degrees or traditional forms of education versus like traditional companies?
For example, I wouldn't say that I would say that the role of the conventional degree is slowly, gradually gaining prominence and importance as the industry matures. However, it is still very much, I can't emphasize this enough, it is still very much a credentials-based industry. It's an open source industry as well, so people want to see, again, your proof of interest, whether it be GitHub contributions or a strong portfolio or even kind of a landing page of previous viral campaigns that you participated in or created. And yeah, again, I guess I don't know if you guys are football fans here in the Bahamas, but over there, but there's a saying by a soccer manager that used to coach Manchester United, and it was a case that if you're old enough, you're good enough. And to be honest, that's often the case in Web3. If somebody is advocating for you and singing your praises, it doesn't matter whether you're 21 or 41, for example. Yeah, I would say that yeah, if there's people advocating for you, great. And if you have a good portfolio and demonstrate proof of interest and can show that your talent beyond your years, well and great. It's I guess the great thing about this industry, generally speaking, is that you can create your own ladder, and rather than climb an existing ladder, which is very empowering about the space. And yeah, I would say even that from if you're talking about degrees, yeah, obviously they're growing in importance, but it's still there's a lot of founders that or most founders will be more about the experience, I can assure you, yeah, for 100%. It's just as the industry is maturing and is consolidating a bit more, you will see the importance of institutional factors and become more prevalent over the coming years.
So, and I like that, right? And so just for a bit of context, a lot of our viewers are Caribbean,
Yeah.
Many of them are from the Caribbean and they want access to jobs inside the crypto realm. Now, many of them, they kind of find it difficult, but some have actually had some success, right?
Mm.
What do you think would be the best way for them to go about actually getting jobs? Like, are there any websites or any particular businesses that could use some people from our particular jurisdictions?
Again, I would say that probably, generally speaking, I would say advise job boards as best as possible, maybe. But I would be more of an advocate for leveraging your network and reaching out to people. But if you see a job on a job board, don't avoid them per se, but apply for the job, but also use a two-pronged approach. Try and find somebody working at the project as well, and try and get in a virtual coffee with that person at the project, and try and get somebody internally then advocating for you, so that you're in a much better position to secure the role going forward. So it's a more tailored approach because I guess a lot of job boards these days are inundated with applicants, and now with the rise of AI, there's a lot of AI applicants, and just yeah. So it's yeah, I guess the human touch with the rise of AI is even more important now, believe it or not. So yeah, just find somebody on LinkedIn that works with a project that you identify with, and then reach out and say, I've applied for this job, I'm very interested. Regardless of whether you're interested in my profile or not, I'd love to have a virtual coffee and explain how I can add value. And yeah, that's pretty much how I'd advise it. But I'd be very interested to know, I've never been to the Bahamas, but I'd be very interested to know, given the population of 400,000 people, you said, yeah, like, is there any crypto communities out there that are underground locally that are helping? Because I'm curious to know from that perspective, yeah.
Yeah. CryptoNoobz, we built up a community. Nelson, keep track, but how much is like 100 and something in the group now, Nelson?
We currently
Nice.
have WhatsApp of about 122 members inside of our crypto community. And there's like a few different crypto communities in the Bahamas, but our group is the most actually intertwined because we focus more on beginners, and we don't only serve just Bahamians, but we also serve like other Caribbean members, people from Latam, and even some Africans as well. So that's what we are building on this side. And here's the thing, all of them are looking to get into the space and looking to actually get jobs to go and feed their families, and especially to work remotely, because as you know, in our region, remote work is like almost unheard of. It's almost unheard of. And I do think that a lot of people in our region are looking for opportunities outside where they could go and actually have a work-life balance as well as be able to feed their families.
Yeah.
But that also brings me to another follow-up question, which would actually be like, which regions are seeing the most hiring in crypto right now?
Yeah, so I would say that's spread across the higher GDP regions, if I'm being honest. So dare I say it, the US, Europe, and Middle East, and Singapore and Hong Kong, for example, as well. So I guess, I guess in the last year or so, locations have become more of an issue with employers. But that being said, if the skill set is rare enough and good enough and harder to source, it's crazy. Employers are just don't really care where one is located. So, for example, a good protocol developer can be based absolutely anywhere. A good Rust engineer can be located absolutely anywhere. So, yeah, I think that being a strong blockchain engineer can be very helpful in terms of securing remote work, for sure. If you're a strong blockchain developer as well, the salary discrepancy between whether you're based in kind of the US or in a low GDP region isn't as anywhere near as bad as it would be in quote unquote Web 2. And that's one thing that's really motivated me about this industry is that especially with engineers, the salary discrepancy isn't as bad as it would be in than it would be in Web 2. For example, in the height of the bull market back in 2021, I did a lot of hiring from places like Nigeria, Pakistan, and even Brazil then later on as well. And I guess traditionally speaking, a lot of the engineers in such countries would have been traditionally a lot of them sweatshop developers for bigger working for agencies for lower salaries. But within Web3 then they found substantially higher paid roles. Yeah, we're able to contribute more to the local economies. And that's the great thing about this industry as well. And hopefully we can kind of keep that remote first culture within the industry going forward. Because again, this when I joined this industry, it was very much about proof of skill as opposed to proof of place. And now it's kind of somewhere in the middle. So hopefully we can retain the proof of skill based over proof of skill or proof over proof of place, because I guess the industry is growing up, and the negative side of that is that location becomes more of an issue, sadly. But again, there'll be the next few years there'll be a lot more. There will continue to be more startups building within the crypto space, for sure, across verticals like blockchain and AI and RWAs and payments and etc. etc. And even gaming seems to be making a small little comeback as well. So I'd be hopeful that like that I don't know what to say really, but how that I guess people in that we can kind of still keep on to those values, and that we don't lose sight of that. Yeah, probably give me a long answer now, but anyway, focus. Yeah.
No, that's what we
That's
need.
good.
That's what we need. We need as much information and insight as possible. But what's been going on in the United States, right? Especially with President Trump coming in really as the president, and it seems every week he's doing something that sends markets either up or in a tailspin down. How important would you say it is for new candidates who are trying to enter the crypto space, coming from TradFi or any industry really? How important do you think is it for them to know about crypto regulation? Because it seems as though, and I told Nelson this, and I tell people this all the time. Like, no, crypto plus regulation equals acceleration. Even though it feels like it's going away from the ethos of what crypto was for,
Correct. Yeah.
since there has been increased regulation, we've seen new higher highs basically for a lot of crypto. And that's usually because institutional money is not going to put their money into something that's unregulated. But how important it is, do you think it is? How important do you think it is for a new applicant to understand crypto regulation in this day and age?
Yeah, it's very important. There's no point in saying otherwise. I'm just not don't need to be an expert, but understand kind of what's happening, especially within your own region specifically. And I guess there's a lot more regulatory clarity obviously now than there was, especially in the United States, with regards to entrepreneurship in the US, for example, and that's been led to more opportunities. I guess a lot of projects were kind of apprehensive of doing certain things in 2022, 2023. Yeah, of course, the market was bad as well to compound with that. But I guess now that there's a lot more confidence because they do know that in the US at least that there's a more favorable regulatory climate, and that's been hugely beneficial to the industry going forward. And
Yeah. My next question would be, so as you know, a lot of people want to actually build their network, build their portfolio, and kind of show off their work, right?
yeah,
Now, what I want to get a better understanding of is what is it that companies value from someone who they think could be a possible good candidate for their companies? Meaning, like, do they value people who are active on like social media like Twitter? Do they value people who are in communities, or do they value people who are just creating a lot of content around cryptocurrency? Like, I want to understand, what is it that they value,
Yeah.
and what does it take to actually get the actual like job?
Yeah. So it really depends, I guess. But yeah, in respect to like one of the annoying things about this industry, recruiting in it, is that sometimes I guess some projects can be trying to they can dismiss candidates for not having maybe K followers on Twitter, for example, which is completely stupid because I guess some people in social media marketing, in crypto especially, they can be very good at growing Twitter accounts for their employers, but they're so engrossed in that they actually haven't time to build their own personal brand and their own following. And then on the contrary as well, you have some people that are very good at building their own personal brand on crypto Twitter, but absolutely desperate at building their employers. Yeah, it can be very frustrating in that sometimes how such a simple number of IE followers on crypto Twitter can influence influence some employer's decision in hiring that person for a role. Yeah, so yeah, and I guess I often, with regards to social media people especially, I often warn them that are they actually, if you have 20k followers or 10k followers on Twitter, for example, ask yourself the important question: do they want to hire you for your ability, or do they want to absorb your followers? Because if they're looking to just absorb your followers and that project doesn't do very well in first 6 months, well, you've latched your reputation onto that project, and those followers, they may still be following you afterwards, but will they be consuming your content in the same way afterwards? Probably not. Yeah, I don't know answering your question there specifically, but like all employers want the same, I guess. To answer the first part of that question, they want to see proof of interest, they want to see passion, they want to see interest, they want to see people coming to the interview prepared. For example, so like if you're going into a community manager role interview, do some research beforehand. What are the competitors doing differently? And yeah, don't be afraid to ask for advice from people as well. In your own network, if you know some people in crypto, just ask them, what do you think of this project, for example? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? Reflect on those learnings as well to take into your interview as well. So
Awesome. Now I am gonna give you a personal thing, like what you just said, like knowing what a project I got attached to. Like, I don't really consider myself a real influencer, even though some people might say it, but there has been times when companies approach me to pitch a product or NFT or something, and I just kind of like left them on red because I was like, okay, if I go pitching this, you guys run off of these people money, I'm gonna be stuck holding the bag. I'm gonna be the face of the project, and I'm not into that, right? But let me ask you about crypto scams, because I was approached a couple, like 2 months ago, right? Like, there's this thing with like job scams and all that. That's a new way to try to scam people. This crypto company was like, all right, we want to hire you as a developer, right? And I let them know, like, hey, all right, I don't have those particular skills that you're looking for. I told them that, right? But they was like, oh, no, we still want to add you to our GitHub and this, that, and the next, right? And they sent me some documents. As I was going through it, I was like, why are these people so persistent? Because this is the first time I ever saw a job push to try to hire someone. Usually it's the person who's like, when you tell a job you don't have the skills, they usually move on to the next candidate. But like, they're trying their hardest to get me to apply and to download these stuff and put it on my computer and run this program because they
yeah.
want me to do like a test or something. And it's like, I could probably learn how to do it. But I was like, why are y'all going so hard asking me? So have you seen, like, for example, when candidates come to you, if they say, all right, this is a job they want, have you ever looked at a job and say, all right, this is a scam? Or did you see like a significant uptick in job scams in the past few years?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, again, it's prevalent across the IT industry, not just crypto. Job scams, fake recruiters, scrolling across various different sites, namely LinkedIn being the main one. Personally, I think that LinkedIn should seriously consider looking at zero knowledge and integrating, or look at least integrating zero knowledge tech into the platform as a long-term strategy to combat this. But I guess for now, I would say to job seekers is that make sure that anyone reaching out to you cold is verified on LinkedIn. where namely they use a third party company, mainly LinkedIn, to verify passports, mainly is the main verification method. So make sure a profile is verified. That actually be a given at this stage, to be honest. I guess secondly, I'll give you recent examples. There's two recent examples where people asked me, for example, whether profiles were real or fake. And a lot of the time you just look at their previous LinkedIn history and you'll realize that they're fake. But one person claiming to be a recruiter had an amazing LinkedIn profile herself, but the problem is that her profile photo was stock image generated, and it wasn't very obvious, but if you did some research in the back end, you'd find out that it was stock generated. And most tellingly was the dates on her own previous employments. They didn't add up. And also then another person reached out asking for verification on another profile and claiming to be from, I forget a prominent Web3 project anyway. I forget the name, but ultimately that person's previous LinkedIn history was very telling, because he or she expressed interest in a Egyptian internship a month or two ago. So if you're working as a recruiter for a big Web3 company, why are you interested a few weeks ago in an internship position in Egypt, for example? Now, I think that one thing that's very assuring is that try and make sure that somebody has at least 500 connections on LinkedIn as well. To be honest, if you only have a couple of hundred connections and they claim to be a recruiter for a couple of years, well, they're generally most highly probable a fake. And luckily enough, LinkedIn are fairly prompt to get rid of these profiles quickly. But again, unfortunately, there will still be people that will unfortunately suffer. And if a job offer is too good to be true, in terms of offer, it would definitely encourage you to do even more research. Ask other people maybe at the company, do they know this such and such a person, for example. So I'll give you an example. A guy came to me not too long ago asking about, was this person real at the company. They had offered him in the job description or in the email or the LinkedIn message job offer of 350k. Now, having worked with that candidate at previously, I knew that he wasn't making anywhere near that. And so I asked somebody working there, was the person real? And lo and behold, they weren't. Listen, you just have to look at previous LinkedIn history and make sure they're verified. I can't emphasize that. Just make sure the profile is verified. And just because somebody has a LinkedIn premium account doesn't mean they're verified.
That is some amazing advice. I actually had someone.
But it's crazy how often it happens. Like even prominent hacks, like the CoinsPay hack, for example, happened through a LinkedIn job scam as well, and plenty of other fake job hacks have come through platforms like LinkedIn. And again, if you're in a crypto job, please don't use your work laptop, because that's how that hack happens. Again, that's something that crypto employers need to press upon people working in these companies. If you're interviewing somewhere else, do not interview on a work laptop, because you could put your employer in a seriously bad situation.
And what's so interesting is that I know what it is to also be approached like that.
Yeah, listen, I've been approached for jobs as well myself. I think everyone is kind of anyone that has Web3 as a keyword on their LinkedIn has been approached in some way, shape, or form. It's crazy. Yeah,
that's a badge of honor right now. That means they thought you had a lot of crypto. So I was like, only if they knew.
So the thing that I need to know is what really separates a good candidate looking for a job in crypto from a great one. I know it is myself to be looking for jobs inside of crypto. And eventually I just got to the point where I just said, you know what, I'm just not going to really worry about it too much. And because we're building CryptoNoobz, we're still building it, we're figuring things out, and we have definitely seen growth, and we are scaling.
Nice.
So here is our proof of work. Now, what I want to know is, for the average person looking for a job inside of crypto, what separates them from just being good and what separates them to being great? What is it that recruiters as well as companies are looking for?
Yeah, proof of interest again. It's a very broad term, but proof of interest. Come to whether it's the screening call or whether it's a job interview, prepared. Know the product inside and out. As best as possible. Review some literature online, for example. Yeah, so come prepared. Offer some insights, some ideas, maybe what competitors are doing. Understand the vertical that they're in. As best as possible, and yeah, just research and demonstrate proof of interest, and yeah, I guess, and ultimately be able to articulate your experiences properly as well. So you'll find that female candidates in general, they come to interviews better prepared, and they generally read the job descriptions much more, and they'll often be more prone to ask questions relating to certain bullet points in the job descriptions as well. So I guess yeah, just what I would find is that just do the research a couple of hours, maybe an hour or two before the interview. Yeah, I think ultimately try and bring unique insights to the initial call as well, especially if that call is with a founder or the hiring manager. Make sure that you bring your A game to that call. Yeah. So again, it is a very competitive marketplace. So try and do what other candidates are not doing. And again, it comes down to simple research and try and I guess now I'm somebody that would have been historically desperate at interviews myself, believe it or not. So I would say that try and know your resume as best you possibly can as well, and be able to think and link in accordance with the job description that is presented in front of you as well. So try and decipher the top 3 or 4 non-negotiables in the job description and try and relate those to your previous experience if at all possible. Yeah. Again, for a lot of people that maybe struggle with interviews as well, I would say that to them, print out a list of competency-based questions and start answering them and timing yourself within a 2-minute range. It'll massively increase your confidence in an interview setting, and it'll also get you thinking about your previous experiences in completely new, different ways.
That is excellent advice. I never thought of that.
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
that's good. All right. So as someone who applied for a job, right? I remember I applied for a job one time, and this crypto company said they want me to pinpoint a project and write a full-page report on why the pros and cons of this project. I did it. I sent it to them, and they completely never got back to me, and I felt like I just wasted a half a day, right? Pretty much a whole day. So that if you could break down into certain steps, someone who is coming from traditional finance, like if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what should they do if they want to transition to crypto? I know we've talked about it a lot throughout the podcast, but like if you can make it concise as possible. Pretend like you're in a job interview and the employer's asking you this question.
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, I'd encourage, like having worked in TradFi myself, in a previous life, I would say that understand whether this industry is for you. That's the first thing I would say, because I guess nothing can prepare you for a Web3 career. Yeah, like a startup career is unique in and of itself, and a Web3 startup is another animal entirely. 24/7, 365. It's very hands-on. Narratives change the whole time, and you're always fighting fires and coming up with new ideas. And I would say that it's a stark contrast to maybe a TradFi career where you can actually touch grass at the weekend and have time for other activities in a lot of cases. Yeah, I would say that I would always encourage people to say that to a large degree it's still true. You need to be obsessed in this industry to enjoy it, and to the extent that it almost doesn't feel like work. Because it is very intensive. You do have to make sacrifices in terms of time. I find it is very, very demanding. If you're giving up, maybe, like if you're in a TradFi job and you're happy, you might ultimately regret it, because yeah, again, you will have to make sacrifices often in terms of time and other activities as well. So, like for example, you might see crypto people at conferences all across the world the whole time, but it is a very demanding. Working in crypto is very, very demanding and requires an awful lot of time, and oftentimes other aspects of your life might suffer in terms of extracurricular activities. So, for example, touching grass is a huge saying, but a lot of people in crypto, unfortunately, just don't touch grass. So I would say don't jump straight into the industry, explore it first. And that's why you could help out with a project, maybe pro bono, an hour or two every week for a couple of months just to see. And you'll understand Web3 culture as a result then, and see whether you are ready to take the next step as well. And ultimately, whilst you're doing that pro bono work, you're building your network, you're also building your credentials, and you're demonstrating to employers that, yes, you get this industry and the challenges that come with it.
We've definitely gotten a lot of gems from you. We understand now working pro bono is one of the things that really would get you your foot in the door, actually establishing your network, in proof of work, showing that interest is there, and then actually like documenting it. Like, would you also say documenting is really important as well? You know, and I think that all of this is advice that many people really need to know. They don't really understand how is it that they could get into this industry and what's not. And although it is a demanding industry, I would also say that it is also a rewarding industry, not just with the pay scales,
Absolutely, yeah.
not just with the pay scales, but there is also the fact that I do think a lot of crypto does a lot of remote work. So there is some level of flexibility. And then just a mere fact to know that you're building something new. Personally working in the industry ourselves, like actually meeting these people, I could say that this is one of the first industries where I see people actually care what it is that you think to build the product. Like they genuinely care what someone inside their team wants to do versus other TradFi and other traditional tech where it's like, yeah, you're just the kind of little guy on the bottom. So that would be actually, so since we are nearing the end of the podcast, I would actually want you to tell the audience any last words and also tell them where they could actually find you on social media.
Yeah, so on Twitter, Owen, the E is spelled with a 3 and BTC. Owen BTC. Yeah, again, replacing the E with a 3, and then yeah, Owen Healy on LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn is my primary source really, and yeah, that's kind of my primary hangout. Yeah.
Awesome.
So to the audience, once again, we thank you for coming out to yet another episode of the CryptoNoobz Podcast. Shouts out to Mr. Healy and all the great advice that he gave. But you guys have a great day.
All right.